Good evening. I call this meeting of the Gloucester Historical Commission meeting of Monday, September 25th, 6:30 p.m. To order. This Zoom meeting of the Historical Commission will be consistent with the governor's orders suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law and will be conducted by remote participation to the greatest extent possible. The public may not physically attend this meeting, but every effort will be made to allow the public to view and listen to the meeting in real time. This may be our last meeting, by the way, only by Zoom. Maybe a hybrid meeting next time. The city is trying to get everyone back in person. They're not sure if they're going to do it for the next meeting. Just let you know. Okay. Let's see. We have here Ralph, Jude, Lillian, Susan, so far. All right. So we may begin.
There's Tim.
Is Tim here? Oh, let's see. Is Tim here? Hi, Tim. Thank you for getting here.
You're rebooted now.
We're just beginning. I just read the little thing about the Zoom meeting and a little introduction of today's date and time and so on. So we're going to take up the first item, and that'll be to improve the minutes of June, July, and August. And let me see what minutes I have here. Make sure I reviewed them. I have August, so that's agenda. That's the agenda. I don't want that. Okay, I have the minutes for August. And I have the minutes for July. But I don't have the minutes for June.
No, I still owe you them, Bob.
Okay.
It's a very light, quick meeting.
Sure.
So I don't know why it's taken me so long. I gotta produce those minutes.
Okay, that's good. As long as we know where they are.
Yeah.
That's most important. Okay. So we'll take it each one here. This will be the minutes for July 31st of this year. It was a meeting that was held by Zoom, and it was attended by myself, Jude, Susan, Tim, Lillian, and absent was Ralph and David, and there were no guests. Okay, so let's see, can we actually vote to approve those minutes for 3 people eligible to, oh wait, we have 4 people that can vote, that's good. Okay, do we have a motion to accept the minutes?
I'll motion.
Okay, thank you, Jude. And a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, thank you, Lillian, that's great. Okay, roll call. Ralph, you're not gonna be able to vote, but I'll call your name out. Ralph?
Yeah, I wasn't there, so
Okay, okay. Jude?
Yeah.
Okay. Lillian?
Yes.
Susan?
Yes.
And Tim?
yes.
Okay, and myself? Yes. So the minutes are approved for July 31st of this year. All right, and the next minutes we'll approve that need to be approved are the August 28th minutes. And I'll make a motion that we approve those minutes. If you would like to second that for me.
I can second it.
Okay, good, thank you. All right, and at this meeting, I was present. Lillian, Susan, Ralph, David, and Tim. And Jude was absent. So when I call your name, Jude, you won't be able to,
Yep.
You won't be able to vote. Okay, all right, so we have it seconded, and so we can take that vote now. Ralph?
I approve.
Okay, Jude?
Abstain.
Okay, Lillian?
I approve, but can I mention one thing? It says August 38, not August 28.
Oh, geez. Sorry about that.
Oh,
All right,
mine says 28 of mine.
Oh,
Or
mine.
maybe there were 2 of them.
Yeah, mine says 38 also.
Hmm.
I will make that correction before I send it in for posting on the web.
Okay,
Either
Well,
that or change the
mine
month.
says 28. What happened here? Okay. I didn't know there was a 38. Thank you for pointing it out, Lillian. You're sharp. Susan?
Yes, I approve.
Okay, and Tim?
Yes.
And Bob here, and I also approve. All right, great. So those will be approved with the amendment of correcting the date. Thank you, Lillian.
Okay.
Okay, so we got some progress on getting those done, and these are being posted with the city clerk's office.
I'll post them. I'll get them posted.
Okay, good, because they're gonna be after us if we don't post them.
Yeah.
Yeah, they actually did send an email. I wonder where they were. Okay, get my agenda back here again. Okay. I'm actually using the one that you originally sent out, but we only changed the date, so it's accurate, I believe, right? Okay.
Bob, just one quick thing. Jude, are you taking the minutes tonight?
Yes,
Okay.
Well, that's good. Thank you, Jude. You take great
No worries.
notes. Oh, and Ralph, you do too. Appreciate what you guys are doing.
Yeah, thank you.
I think that's the hardest job, really.
I write everything down anyway. Like even if I'm not doing the minutes, I'm still jotting notes. So I might as
You're
well
a
just
good-
type them up.
You're a good note taker, which I'm not a good note taker.
Oh, nor am I.
See, you're in education, you know enough to take notes. All right, so the next item, item 2, is the fiscal year 2024 Massachusetts Historical Commission Survey and Planning Grant pre-applications. They're now available. So this would be if anything that somebody comes to us or we can identify that could qualify for a grant, then taking the applications. Possibly something like maybe the Legion Building, which was the first town hall. It's a historic building. It was built in, let's see, 1842. It was a building that was originally being constructed for the first town hall of Rockport. Rockport seceded from Gloucester in 1840, and they were attempting to build the frame for that building, and they abandoned the idea and sold the frame to Gloucester. So that's kind of an interesting thing. We ended up with the frame of Rockport's was supposed to be first town hall, and that was our first town hall. And before that, we were meeting in places like the First Universalist Church. Then in 1867, Gloucester built a new town hall in the place where the city hall is now, and it burned down. I think it was like 2 years later, 1869, and then they constructed on the same foundation a new town hall. That still Gloucester was a town, and I think it was completed around 1872 and 1873, and then Gloucester became a city. I believe it was shortly after that. Might have been almost the same time. What was it? 1873 was it? Gloucester became a city.
I believe
And
so.
Is that right, Jude?
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah, you're good. You're the historian here. Appreciate that. So anyway, getting back to the original idea here, maybe we should contact whoever's involved with doing the restoration of the Legion, see if that is one that could qualify. The one thing that they don't really pay for is ordinary maintenance. But in the case of this building, it's gone way beyond that. It needs some real structural work done. The pillars, which are structural, that were added in 1923 on the side that faces the Joan of Arc statue, they were added around that time. it could have been actually, well, I'd say the early 1920s. But the other villas on Washington Street also are in bad shape. And they were original, probably the presence of pillars on Washington Street side were there. I'm not sure if those are the same pillars because they could have been restored as well.
Didn't
Sometimes.
Bill do it? Didn't Bill do a like a reconnaissance of
Bill
that?
Remsen, yes, he
Yeah.
did. He did a very, very,
And there was a significant amount of work that needed to be done, right?
that's
Like
what
there
he
was some
found.
there was like window issues and like roof leaks and
Foundation issues and
Yeah.
things like that. Yeah.
It's in
Yeah.
really rough shape.
There's a report on that.
yeah, I probably have that report somewhere too. Wasn't there some, like, I don't want to say adversarialness with the Legion over who was responsible for like interior and exterior and whatever?
Right.
Isn't there something in I vaguely remember there was some kind of impediment with like the Legion lease and who was responsible for what. And I remember Bill doing the report. I'd have to go back and look.
Can I say
Right.
something? I read something online today that they obtained, I think, $33,000, a grant, or I don't know where the funding came from, to do a study to see what the condition is and what, what needs to be done and to prepare to go out to bid. So there is somebody, they did get some money to begin to start this.
That's good to hear. Yeah.
Be interested to find out who that is.
Was that the paintbrush money, that paintbrush campaign?
I think it was, yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
So they gave away paintbrushes for a $100 donation. And they raised $33,000. That was
Wow.
last year. Didn't Bill Remsen, wasn't he part of a report?
He
on-
wrote a report. He wrote a report, I want to say back in like, I don't know, 2017.
Right.
He
Yeah.
went through and did a whole study. I mean, it's like I
Yes.
want to say it's like a 30-page report. Let me
Yeah.
see if I can find it.
With
Right.
photos and so on. I
Yeah,
believe.
with photos and everything. If I can find it, I'll email it to everybody that wasn't around.
That'll be great. Now, I'll see if I have some files I can look through.
How long ago was that?
I want
That's
to say
what-
it was 2017.
Okay.
Wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, how time flies. That'd be
Yeah.
about 6 years. Yeah. All right. All right. So, anything else that anyone can think about that could be they could qualify for a grant that we might think of? We may want to communicate with someone in the city that may know about things that are going on for something that someone could be interested in receiving a grant for.
Bob, how would an organization or whatever apply for that? Do they have to come through this committee or is there an online form? Do you know?
There is an application that goes into the MHC, Massachusetts Historical Commission. Then they have a reviewing of it. And then they, I guess they have, it's like a ceremony where you go and you find out if you're gonna be approved or not. I actually attended one of those. It was kind of nice. Some of them was just simply a painting job, and then they don't pay for ordinary maintenance. So if this was only a painting job for the Legion, it probably would not qualify. But where it goes well beyond painting, there's some restoration that needs to be done. There's wood that has to be replaced and shoring up of things like the foundation. There's drainage problems as well, where water is infiltrating the building.
Yeah.
Drain water coming from the gutters and things like that. And the windows are
So,
not really keeping the weather out.
so
Does historic preservation or renovation grants only pertain to nonprofits and businesses, or can private residences also apply? if their
Um,
home's significant.
Yeah, I don't think that it would be something for a private residence. It has to be a nonprofit situation, you know, owned by a municipality or by a nonprofit, 501c.
Got it.
Right. Right, so let's see,
I just sent everybody the link for the listing of eligible activities, the application process, and the dates in which these things are needed. November 15th, 2023 is the requirement to have a pre-application. It's a letter of intent. So it's coming right up.
yes, well, I'm glad you brought that to our attention and sent us the link so that we, I actually haven't gone through one of these before personally. I've been around it, but I don't think I've ever been through one. So I'll let new to this myself, and we probably, all of us probably haven't been through this, but it is an opportunity. And the thing about this, what we need to know is we qualify more than most communities for these funds because we are a certified local government. And we do a report each year. And we're supposed to meet with the Historic District Commission at least once a year, and we need to.
I was gonna ask, like, do we have to be a certified local government to qualify for that? Because I thought we did.
Can't be sure of that, but I know it helps if you are.
And B, are we? Because we haven't met with the Historical District Commission. And was our report not filled out?
We
Was our
got one
report
in
not
last
sent?
year. We got it in late last year. We usually get it in late.
And then it was accepted and everything?
It was accepted. Who did it?
Sandy did it before she resigned.
I think she did it before she resigned. That's what it was. Now
Yeah,
we need a new one, a new Sandy. Who wants to be the new Sandy?
So what it says here online, the last line under eligible, under federal law, Mass Historical Commission is required to pass through grant awards representing 10% of its total annual federal funding allocation to certified local governments.
Mhm.
so
We have a
10% of the funding has to go to the certified local government, but you don't necessarily have to be a certified local government to get it.
Not sure for fiscal year 2024,
no.
eligible applicants are anticipated to include all local historical commissions, local historic district commissions, planning offices, and other eligible and nonprofit historic preservation organizations. So that
Okay,
sounds
I guess,
very open.
yeah, to clarify this,
mean-
what this means, the 10% of the federal funds that the state receives has to be put aside and only be awarded to certified local governments, which there aren't that many communities that get it. So that means we actually have more of a chance for getting significant funding because that's a chunk of money that only can go to certified local governments as Gloucester is. And by the way, we can thank Mary Ellen LaBianca for that because she's the person that got us onto that. She knew the importance of being a certified local government. And I want
And the fact that we can potentially tap into that yearly is a huge benefit to the city that we haven't been using as much as we could for local restoration of buildings, because so many of them, like the Blackburn Tavern and the Legion, really need like significant updates and work and are very historic and important buildings that need to get restored. And if there's money available for certified towns like ours or cities, we should definitely be applying for it.
Right. Yeah. That's my thought too. We have a lot of historic properties. We have probably a lot.
I mean, that also,
qualify.
that also begs the question, are we going to, I haven't admittedly looked at the HDC's minutes to see whether they've even held a meeting, but I'm sure they have if there was permits coming out, but how many times, like what, this is not my wheelhouse, so like, forgive me, but we have to meet with them once a year
That's correct.
and they have to meet, and we both have to meet independently at least quarterly, correct? So they have to have at least 4 meetings each year, including a meeting with us.
Right.
Okay.
That sounds like it could be right, but I don't know that for a fact, but you're probably up to speed on this.
I'm like vaguely remember, because again, the last time we did this was probably 2017 or 2018,
Right.
where it
Uh,
was, and they didn't even have a quorum, so that meeting didn't count. So I'm not sure so David Porp is out of the Historical District Commission. He doesn't do that anymore.
He does not, no. But
I'm
we have-
wondering if the new blood is going to be more amenable to meeting with us, because I know like Charles Nazarian, is he still on it? Because
I believe he is. I believe
he was
is.
looking, he was very positive about kind of joining forces.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I think he might be a good person to reach out to and find out who's the chair and what's the chances of us being able to successfully hold a meeting jointly. It wouldn't be hard to do, you know.
No, especially if it's like hybrid,
Right.
because we could just do it. All they have to do is show up and we have to transact business, right?
Yeah, I just holding a meeting and cover anything that you have. I don't know if we really have to both have something on the agenda. You know, they only meet if they have an application for
Yeah.
something going on in the historic district, and that's not too often.
So if we just showed up at one of their meetings and had just a vote to do the CLG, I just feel bad because someone's going to be taking on the burden of that report, and it's going to be a historic commission. It's going to be one of our people.
Right.
You know,
So
I remember Sandy running ragged trying to get that report in.
Right. She did a great job doing that too. So we're going to need somebody who can focus on that.
Their last meeting was September 26th.
Okay, so they met the day after we were supposed to meet.
Yeah. So maybe we can get in touch with them and see if we can meet in the next month or two and qualify for that particular item. And if we need to do the report, we can put in, I guess, that we're scheduled to have a joint meeting, you know.
Because I think that if I remember correctly, the 2 big things that Sandy was having a hard time was that we didn't meet with them. And the last time we met with them, they didn't have a quorum. So they were just basically guests, and the minutes weren't updated. So I'm going to try to be better about getting minutes done, because that was one of the things that was getting in the way.
Right. Okay. That's great. All right. So I think that the big thing here is having the joint meeting. I think that you know, we meet just about every month. Very rare that we meeting.
We could do like a monthly meeting on because they meet Tuesdays, correct? We could do like a monthly meeting on a Tuesday instead.
True, that's right.
When they have it, especially if it's Zoom, everyone can just kind of join in.
Right. Certain Tuesdays, I'm still on the CPC, and they tend to meet on Tuesday, although they have some Mondays actually lined up. And fortunately, they don't interfere with our schedule. Which Tuesday do they generally meet on? Do you happen to know?
No, well, we were supposed to meet the 25th,
Yes.
and they were the 26th, so that would be the
Okay.
last Tuesday. That would be the
Oh,
last
last Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Yeah, that's a safe date. Usually.
I'll shoot an email to whoever the chair is. I'll look it
Okay.
up and just shoot an email and just ballpark some days they can join us.
That'd be great. Yeah, that's great. Okay, all right. So now you're still up here, Jude. You're talking. So now the next item here would be the Sage Fort Park letter and invitation to attend the Historical Commission meeting. What do we have? Anything? Any change?
The last action I took on that, Susan had sent some edits and I just rearranged the way, just followed her edits and left it at that, but never sent it out. I got tied up with the
Right.
the plaque procedure. I
Right.
mean, I'm wondering if at this point, like, what do we focus on it? Is it a battle we want to fight while we have some stamina with the plaque and the
Well-
Preservation Ordinance?
Yeah, I don't think there's anything that we would actually, I don't know if there's anything they're gonna be doing in the future that we would need to know much about. I think whatever we were concerned about has already happened. So I just think it's kind of interesting. I saw an old picture, it must have been on something like Facebook, of the fort. I believe that was the location. Pretty sure it was by the background. And the mounds were so much bigger, and it really looked like a real fort. You know, and through the years, the mounds must have gotten smaller, and now there's not much really mounds there.
Well, what I think happened was after they deactivated the fort, they took all the masonry out and reused it, and then it just weathered away because they had like masonry inside, so it was like the inside of the wall was like flat, and
Yes.
the outside was sloped, so you had like a ricochet. So if someone shot at it, and I mean, people think, everyone like the fort neighborhood is the fort, but it's like the worst place to put. Once they moved to the harbor, it's like the worst place to have a fort because if they overshoot it, you're gonna hit the city.
Right.
So from like a tactical perspective, like that's not a great place to have something getting shot at where Stage Fort was, because it was, if you overshot it, you were shooting it into like fields.
Right.
All the pictures I've seen had like I'm sorry, this is like the way I have my iPad set up, it's like the worst position right now. They had like the inside was like a flat face, like you would see a wall, and then the outside sloped. So if something hit it, but the inside was all masonry and the outside was all turf to absorb the rounds or like ricochet the rounds up. But once they took all the masonry out, I guess in the 30s, it had all weathered down and they had rebuilt it probably dug it out and rebuilt it up, like to what it is currently. And then cut those little, like the gun ports in, and then put those granite slabs that were there.
Right.
That was more of like a restoration.
Right.
But my thing with it is just they leveled it. Like they just chopped it off. So it isn't any iteration. It isn't a representation of any iteration that fort ever was. It's just like a snub-nosed version of it now.
Right. Yeah. We were concerned about the preserving the historic feel and the integrity of it, and also the artifacts that.
Yeah,
could be
that was my biggest concern, was they just went, like, Bill's last words were like, if you're not going to do anything, at least have someone follow the bulldozers.
Right.
And none of that even happened.
They really, I mean, they couldn't have done it any more carelessly. I'm talking about the contractors were not aware
No,
that was sensitive ground, and when they started bulldozing everything, they were just losing all the history that was embedded in that surface, it's just lost forever.
I wonder where the dirt got carted off to.
it was, to be honest with you, like, I'm a nerd. I went poking through that pile as soon as I found it.
Yeah.
And like, I'm not an archaeologist, but there was literally nothing in those. Like, it's lucky. I'm thankful that when, like, where they had cut out to put they had like dug out where those concrete things were. They pulled them all out, and then they dug down. And I want to say it was like I don't know, it was a good 3 foot deep square it was like good clean sides, and there was nothing in it but like some charcoal. Like there was some burnt matter and clay. So it wasn't like there wasn't like pipe stems and buttons and stuff falling out. I mean,
Right.
it's
I
not
was-
something like a test pit probably wouldn't have found anything.
Right.
But
I'm thinking about
what
more the
precedent does it
general
set?
area, the general area in front of the cannons, you know, before you can walk up to the cannons, you know, that surface there. And that probably have been changed from prior times as well. So maybe the significance of what was there based on what you found wasn't so
I
so
think if
much.
there's gonna be like important cultural features, they'd be like back where, I mean, the fort wasn't manned all the time. It was maybe a sentry, you know, and they didn't seem to waste. I know they took all the guns out after every conflict. They would bring them somewhere else. They were like, there's a lot of newspaper articles. Oh, they've removed the cannons. Oh, they removed the cannons. They probably took the artillery. They didn't leave any of that. I'm 99% sure the magazines filled in anyway. If something was going to get dug up, like I guess my big concern, like if they're going to redo the playground, for instance, and they're going to dig up all that area, that's where all the barracks were. So if someone was going to find something significant, like any cultural material, it's going to be under those barracks.
Right.
We dodged
So-
a bullet. I'm sorry?
So then my question is there a chance that another project of digging up some part of that fort could happen? So if we don't send them the letter now and have it documented and dated for this last particular project, it doesn't that behoove us to do that in case there's another project in the future where they start digging without any sort of protocols and, you know, letting us know.
That's a good point.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think the letter needs
Yeah.
to be sent either way at this point to get the
that-
point across.
That was the point I was just going to make, is that are there any plans for them to do anything additionally? We wouldn't know that, you know. So I
So-
think maybe we might like to have them keep us abreast of things that they're working on, so that we have a chance to have our input. And you know, we're not really a regulatory type organization. We're more of an advisory. You know, we would like to guide them, but it's you know, more of a thing where we can't forbid them to do.
So maybe that's the tack we take, is that we are meeting with you just to let you know that in the future, like they're not a historical, there's no historical background whatsoever in that commission. They're a Parks Beautification Commission. Like that's not our purview. Like our job isn't to be like, oh, it would look great to have these things here. My personal opinion, I think the fort, and more specifically the cannons, was David Dow's personal project, and he wanted that done for the 400th. And after that, I feel like there is going to be, like, now that it's done, he may, oh, we could do this, we could do that, but it's going to be less of a, I guess, aggressive change. But I do agree that, like,
Right.
in the future, like, that's not their job. Their
Right.
job is not historical preservation. That's ours. And
Right.
theirs is to beautify, and that's not ours. And at some point we can come to a middle ground of, this is a very historical site, more so
Right.
than people, I think, with all the change. Yeah, that was the thing they said in the paper, was like, oh, well, it's been changed so much already, what's the difference? I think that's our job, is to be like, there is a difference. Like, it has been changed a lot, and it's, you know, maybe it's time that someone actually looked at how the changes were happening, you know, because I think back, like,
Right.
all the other work they did up into the 30s, they were finding skeletons, you know, so that's a
Right.
big, that's
Yeah.
a big find.
So I think that I've seen the letter recently, but I think the tone of the letter should be is that we are interested in any future projects that should happen in all the states for park, actually. Because there are other areas that are sensitive as well. And that, not that we really want to interfere, with any nice project they're working on, but if there's anything that can be saved, anything that we can shed light on, we'd like to have that opportunity, And so it's, and I would say it should be a thing where it's a friendly invitation that we're extending to them. And we're just, and the spirit is that we're interested in any future project that may take place, and that we would like to be consulted, and we'd like to be aware of what's going on, and we would like to be able to make a comment, and we're not going to prevent them from doing whatever they want to do, but we would like to have a chance to maybe just have an influence by shedding light on something that maybe somebody would miss.
I mean, on the flip side, like, it's in their best interest to have at least someone they can pick up a phone and be like, hey, we found this bone and now everything's stopped. Like, there's a general idea of where, like, bones were found, where they might dig into a foundation. Like that report that UMass did was pretty extensive for not having dug any holes, in my opinion. So, I mean, if they're gonna like redoing the sidewalk of the baseball field, like she was talking about in the report, like behind where, like, there's the dog park and that like little back parking lot on the other side, she was talking about, like, I want to say it's like behind the dog park. They were talking about expanding something back there. And that was one of the places that she noted as this place might be significant. So if they, if we get word that they're going to do that parking lot and that's the place in the report, maybe just poke around. I bet Bill would walk out there and just see what he could see.
Right. Yeah. So I think that's the spirit of what this should be. I think that it's okay to say that we had some reservations about some of the work that took place. And perhaps they didn't even know that when the contractor got their equipment in there, how they were going to use it. I mean, to what extent they would disturb the ground. I think there's a plus or minus to the thing. That some of the things we may not like could actually have some benefit. At least looking at from their view, maybe the view of the public. I guess the idea actually was to make it so that it was a better lookout place where people could enjoy looking out across the harbor.
I think one of the things too is being able to see it from the boulevard, like being able to see what was on the fort from walking along the boulevard. Right.
So that there were some good intentions here, and I don't think it was all lost. But while we did had some reservations here, and we like to think that we can make a difference. We were very much in support of the restoration of the cannons and the work they were doing. David Dow came before the Historical Commission a number of times, and he was very enthusiastic about his work, and we joined in that enthusiasm. And I think it's great, the enthusiasm and the work that he put into this, all volunteer, as we are. And so I do think that there's a good side to this, as much as we could find some areas of criticism. I guess Kevin can do that all the time. It's just how much criticism, and I would rather not get into that part of it, but get into what the future is going to be and cover those things, and not to get in the way, but to assist. We're not an organization to make things harder for people or an organization to assist them, to educate them, to to add some value, historic value to what they're doing. So that's where that's our domain,
Yeah, I
So we
feel
like-
like we should at least be included in the conversation since it is a historical site. That is our thing, right? I mean, yeah, they have
Right.
their own committee in terms of what's going to happen with the grounds, but the fact that it is a historic site, they can't get around, and I feel like there's no there for them to go around us. He's telling us what the plan is because of the fact that it's a historical site.
right.
And that's
Overall,
that, like our sole mission is historical preservation.
Right,
Right.
exactly.
So even if it's like to preserve something historically, and then they're gonna dig that hole or plant those trees or do that, like we at least I feel like have an obligation to make an effort to preserve what can be preserved.
right,
Or document the history of what's happened at the park.
exactly.
It's all history, you know what I mean? It's not like one period of time that we're responsible for. There's
So I think that the invitation should be one that we're interested in. It would be probably nice to have them meet with us, even if they don't have a project on hand, just to discuss where things might go someday in further improving Stagewell Park. And that we should express our interest formally through a meeting that we would like to be included in any discussion that or planning they have, so that we can have a chance to give our opinion on it. And it's not so much to stand in their way, but it's really to assist rather than to be too critical, just for being critical. That's not what we're interested in. We're interested in what's best for historic preservation. That's hard for people to grasp when they're not focused on it. It just reminds me of somebody who sees a piece of furniture and says, "Oh, there's a scratch here." So they take and they sand it all off and they put a new finish on, and then they take it to the road show. It's on Channel 2, and they said, "Well, if you hadn't sanded this down, it'd be worth a heck of a lot more." So sometimes people are always good intentions, do things, and then they don't realize what they're doing. Less sometimes is better. Okay, so if you could, recirculate that letter with the changes and see how we think it is, and we could, once we've all had you can present this letter at a meeting, we can actually vote if we would like to send that to the Stagewell Park Advisory Committee. And I think that would be good. I think it's best to have face-to-face communication rather than mumble in the background. That tends to be a lot of that going on. Not that we're doing it so much, but the public in general. My feeling is, if you don't like something, let somebody know. And the right person, if you can. Okay, we'll go on to the next item here. And this would be, Ralph, this is your little thing here. The Historic Structure Preservation Ordinance, next steps. And you have a meeting planned. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, I guess at this point, there's not a whole lot to say other than we have a meeting planned for tomorrow at 3:00 with the mayor. And
Yes.
yeah, we'll go over the presentation. Susan, I haven't updated the presentation based on your latest round of input, so I sent him the prior version as a draft. But I think it's pretty complete. So I suggest tomorrow we go over that presentation with the mayor and see what he says.
Right. And this is something that we actually haven't, this updated thing, we haven't actually voted on it. So we would have to, after we discuss this with him and get his input, we have to bring that back to ourselves, and then we would need to vote on this. And we let him know, although there's a lot of support for it, we haven't formally voted for some of the points in this new plan.
Right, right.
But in general, we're in agreement, but formally, we haven't actually voted for it in a meeting. So I guess the idea we can say to him, say to the mayor, is that we can present this to you first and get your suggestions
Mhm.
before we put it to a vote for the commission,
Right.
so that you will be included in some way to give your ideas here as to what you think will be successful and
Mm.
what you feel that you could support.
Right.
So just for clarity's sake,
Mhm.
for the minutes, you're meeting with the mayor tomorrow.
Yep.
We're gonna get his input.
Yeah,
We're gonna
actually,
come back.
we're responding to his prior input in the.
Okay.
Yeah,
And then we're gonna come back and we'll vote on it.
yeah, I clearly mark it as a draft.
Right. Now, his input before was to have a very, very short time period. I think it was something around 2 weeks of a delay.
Yeah, it was,
And
I think it was 30 days, but I don't know.
yeah,
for
it
sure.
was, I'm not sure, but it was a short time period.
Yeah.
In any case, and I think that not that the tip of this too much. I'm not sure what we'll be discussing, but I think we'd like to have it be a little bit longer. I think that might be the biggest point in the whole thing here, is that we would need it to be a little bit longer. And my feeling is, he knows the council
Mhm.
and he knows what he would support.
Right,
So his opinion means a lot. And he's also pretty fair and even-handed on these types of things. And he's looking out for everyone, not just for our wishes, but the wishes of anyone who would like to do a project, how much difficulty this might present to someone. And our job, actually, in a way, for coming up with this ordinance is to convince people that it should not really be that much of a problem, especially in most of the cases. Most of the cases, it would be very clear that the demolition can go forward. There are a few cases where we would probably need to sort of like make a deal, and that would be, it could be as simple as documenting before you tear it down.
right.
It could be, is there something you could save here? Especially if it's like a part that faces a public street, for example.
Mhm.
And we would, and I do think that the commission should always be aware of the utility of what someone is proposing to do. And how much utility would there be if we only simply made them restore it, and that might be a hardship, and it might not work. If it doesn't work,
Can I ask a question?
yes,
This is our October meeting.
Yep.
Our next meeting is gonna be in November. It's gonna be after the election.
um,
Do we want to table this until after an election? Do we want to do this during an election month, I guess is what is there a benefit to us to do this in an election month, or do we want to sit on it until the election is over?
well,
And then go for it? Like how
I
much?
don't think we need to. I don't think we need to. And the reason is that we're not presenting it to the council until after we know who the new council is going to be. And we probably would, by the time we got all our ducks in a row here, we probably won't present this until after the first of the year when there's a new council.
That makes sense.
Right, and many of the people who are on the council now will probably be on the council. That's generally what happens, you know. So some of the incumbents will be back in again. So that would be a sense of what it is. And the mayor was on the council. He knows how councilors think, you know. Sometimes I don't understand them, so he does.
So just so I understand the process, after we presumably or hopefully tomorrow we'll get his backing, at least to some extent, or at least not his resistance to it. Would
Right.
We would then ask for a hearing with the city council and propose it to them. Is that correct?
That's correct. And by the time we got that hearing, it would be a new council.
Yeah.
So we would,
and in fact,
would
it could be a
vote-
new mayor, but not like
we would-
it could be.
we would vote to approve this.
Yep.
That would be our final, I guess, our final iteration of what we want the ordinance to be.
Mhm.
We would go to the city council meeting, which I guess wouldn't be after till the first of the year anyway. So like we'd amend it based on like however this meeting goes tomorrow.
Mhm.
We'll incorporate whatever we think needs to be incorporated, I guess,
Mhm.
and then vote on a final product and then go to the city council.
Okay.
By the time that's all happens, we will actually be working with the new council. But what we want to do is, 2 years is such a short time to work with the council. And if we always wait until we can do it all within their term, you might end up in the same situation where you get this down to the thing where you almost get a vote and you're going to get a new council. So I think it's okay to start it now and let this be passed on to the new council eventually, because then I'm sure it's going to be voted on by a new council. And some of the people who are on the statistically incumbents, a certain number of incumbents will be back. So can't be guaranteed of anything. You never know how elections are going to turn out.
Yeah.
So anyway, but I think you're just going to keep on moving with this. I think we've delayed this for so many years, and I think that we need to do it before we lose another important property. We know we don't see too many in any given period, but over a long period of time, we do lose properties to demolition permits are given. And it could be something that's very important in the future.
I think
Maybe
this is
even more
my,
important.
I think this is my 9th year on the historical commission, and this and the Meeting House Green plaque were the two things I want to see done. Because
Yep.
they were happening. The Meeting House Green sign and the demolition delay ordinance
We
were the
fin-
two things at my first meeting that we
Yep.
talked about.
and we
And
finally got the.
we got one done. Let's get this done.
If we can do this, I think that'd be nice. I think we can do it.
This is going on a decade of just me being involved with it.
Yes, I know. It's been, I think it's a little before you even. So, and I actually went to like a seminar on this at that was put on by the Massachusetts Historical Commission out in, I think it was Natick or Framingham. And it was very interesting. I learned a lot. And I think it would be nice if we do more, attend more of the Massachusetts Historical Commission events, we should actually do a field trip and get down there. Those of us who can do it and are interested. Mary Ellen used to arrange this quite often. I have to say she was a great co-chair, and we did a lot. And she actually did a lot of the work herself, but she got things done. At least she did the hard work. We didn't always get support for it, for various things. that there are disappointments to us, such as Dogtown and Annisquam, as national, being listed on the National Historic Register, which has no regulation, but people didn't see it that way. Even people, elected officials, who had trouble understanding that it wouldn't do any harm, wouldn't hurt. But I think it's a matter of what we need to do is educate people, and they have to believe. We got to find a way that they believe us, and trust us. Okay. Now let's see. Historic plaque procedure. We have Susan and Jude have been involved in this. Who would like to make a comment?
I sent a document. Sorry, I'm writing notes and talking at the same time. I sent a document of like a mock-up of a application that I basically just went on. I went on a Macros, found the Form B, and just typed it up into
Right.
I don't know, it's like 3 pages,
Right.
but it's like a quick just fill in.
Did you send an email on that? That sounds familiar.
I did. I sent it last Monday.
Okay, right.
I was also working on like criteria, but it became kind of I overthink stuff sometimes. Like I want to get every detail, and became more of a, I was kind of like flow charting, like, is it a historic person's house, or is it like architecturally significant, or is it whatever? And then got into this mess of it, and I was cleaning it up this morning, and that's not done, but I got the application done last week, and I basically just pulled it off the Form B. So whatever was on Macros, I just kind of organized into something that I thought might be easy for us to just glance at. And then added a section for like where they got that information. So if we had to go back and look, if someone's like, oh, my house is a first period house, and it's not, we can at least go back and find out where they got that, because it probably is still significant, but
Right.
their information might be off. Their intentions are good.
Yeah.
And it's something we could help clarify.
And actually, modeling after the Form B is actually, I think, a good idea, because that's a step into getting that documented on the Form B.
That's also kind of like what I was thinking, because if you're going to get a plaque on your house, like, shouldn't that house be on Macros?
Yeah, I think it's a real good idea. That's good, but a good perspective that you entered on the side here of the plaques. You've got the work done, which is an outline of that based off of the Form B. Is that in a form that you think you'd like to present to us and we can vote on it?
I sent it on Monday. You guys should have it. I sent it last Monday.
Do you want me to forward it to you, Bob? I have it right here in front of me.
Oh, okay, yeah, go ahead.
I never know what what email to use for you, Bob. Is it the Comcast?
Oh, my
Yeah.
email.
Yeah.
My email is since 1913.
Okay, so that's the right.
Yeah, and it's at Comcast.net.
Okay, I just sent it.
You did. All right. So let's see if I can find that.
I may not have sent it to that. If you have 2 addresses, I may have sent it to the wrong
Okay.
one, Bob.
I have that. Okay, I can see you, Jude, while I'm doing this. Area. Is it in the historic district? Is it in the National Historic District? These are questions that they'd answer. Is it in the Macros? Is it a Macros historic area on the National Historic Register? So this is the area part of this. In other words, is it in one of those areas? Use. What is it being used for? Present, and then what was it used for originally? And then the next will be description. The date, architectural style, external wall fabric, outbuildings, major alterations. Moved, was it moved? If moved, please note the approximate date. Historic significance. We have the architectural style category. We also have home of historic personality, like, you know, who's connected to that property.
I was thinking on those lines, like if you go up to Granite Street, for instance, where they like where the Poor Farm was like sold as developments, all those houses look the same. They're all like 1870s Victorian houses. But like one is like the Newell house on the corner there, and one I think is someone that owned a wharf or something like that. So like I look at it like if all those houses put a plaque on them because they were like architecturally significant or whatever, like it's a dime a dozen. There may be someone of historical importance that lived in one of those houses, and that would warrant the plaque. That's where I kind of that was my,
Right.
I guess,
Well,
gray area.
My thought on this would be if a house was built in a certain year, we consider that year to be historic. I think that in itself could be a reason to put a plaque on stating the year. Okay. Additionally, if it has some historical significance in some activity or person that was connected to the property, or the architectural style is, you know, of a certain period, that would also be of interest for doing a plaque. I don't think you have to meet all the categories to get a plaque.
Yeah, I don't think it's exclusive.
Right.
My goal was more to like have more options. Like someone up there might be like, oh, my house looks like everybody else's, but they
Right.
would have another option. I also have another question. What about public buildings or like a building that's for instance, the Maplewood School,
Right.
right? Like I feel like the school up on, I guess where you go up, what is it, Orchard Street?
Hubby School.
Yeah, the Hubby School.
Yeah.
Like that's apartment
yeah.
buildings now, but it's also significant.
Yeah, I went to school there, so it's historic.
Like how would we get a plaque? What would be the process? Would we be able, I know because it costs money. It's like
Right.
there's a fee for a plaque, but would the
Well,
city?
The association could apply for a plaque. You know,
Yeah,
that's a condo association, and so is in Maplewood. They're condo associations, so they can apply for a plaque and they can pay for that plaque. The Historical Commission doesn't have any funding. If somebody wanted to donate money, I guess, to do plaques, then there'd be some funding for doing so, you know. But
So let me-
yes.
let me ask about like the Legion building.
Mm-hmm.
Like would the city, do you think the city would fund a plaque for that, for instance? It being the 400th
well,
and everything?
Yeah, I would think that that's sort of like the plaque we put, or the sign we put over the green by the Rotary, where I guess the DPW paid for the to do that, you know, and I assume that the DPW could fund. I don't know this for a fact, but I would envision that they could fund doing a plaque if that is something that's desired. And I think it would be very good.
I have a question. Is there grounds to potentially be able to apply for one of all 8 to pay for plaques significant built in the city?
You know,
We're talking about money, and the state have to does have to like but we don't have a ton of grants applicable right now that we could afford other than like the Legion, Blackburn, Blackburn's privately owned, I think, right?
It is, yeah.
But
And
maybe there's
I think they may.
maybe there's the opportunity
There
to
could be a
possibly
plaque.
do that. Or
I think the
it's
Blackburn has one, doesn't it?
I think-
It
It does,
it does still have it, yeah.
it does
Yes.
now. Yes,
Right.
Oh, right, because it got moved up.
Right, and if
Or
the
down,
property is
I can't
owned by privately or by a corporation, it can be, they can fund their plaque. You know, I think that's the general procedure, is that whoever wants a plaque will pay for the plaque, and we will review the application as far as if they would like to have it be an official plaque indicating that the Gloucester Historical Commission will be on the plaque.
Correct, yeah, I understand all that for private residences, but the discussion was based off of either city or like municipality owned properties. Is that what we were talking about specifically? And putting plaques on those and who would cover the cost. And that's why I brought forth
Right.
potentially the
You
opportunity.
know, just
to-
on, well, let's see, I might have missed something here. There's a little echo there. Are you saying about the public and private?
I think private
No, I mean,
private would pay for itself.
right,
if they-
yeah,
If they wanted it, but like a city building like the Legion is technically owned by the city. And
Right.
it's leased to the American Legion, but it's a city building, so like if they're gonna like beautify the building, a plaque would be like a nice addition to that. Like who would the city, or would like I think, Tim, you cut out for a little while, but like part of the grant funding to do the work could like $200 be allocated to a plaque.
correct.
I can envision that happening. But that would be up to whoever is involved in the restoration of the city hall. I should say the Legion building, formerly Town Hall. And that is a good reason to have a plaque, is because it was Gloucester's first town hall. And I think it would be great to have a plaque that actually maybe just more than just what we usually put down on a plaque, but one that actually tells a little bit of the story that it was the first town hall. And until from 1842 to 1867, which is, how many years is that? 27 years? Or 25 years. For 25 years, it was a town hall. And after that, it was the fourth school. And then they built a new school. And that used to be a fire station. That's across from the 24-hour little plaza there on Washington Street, across the street. There's a brick building. Well, actually, it's well across from Mansfield Street. It's now condos. And that was, they built a brick building in place of the stables that were there for the horses for the fire department. So that's another building that could also have a plaque as well. There is a building on the corner of Gould Court, which is next to the Forbes School, and that was there was a sign on it saying GAR, the GAR building, and it's now owned by Action Incorporated for their energy conservation projects. I believe that's what it's used for. So that's a pretty old structure there. That doesn't have a plaque on it now. It should. But we can identify a lot of properties that should have plaques. And the question here is, I
I
guess,
thought the Forbes School Building had a plaque.
it could actually.
One of those by either the Action Building or the one across the street from it there's a plaque on one of them, I'm pretty sure.
You're probably right about that.
I'll look when I go by there and the
So
way
we-
to work, I'll look.
Well, we can actually, note these things, see if where the plaques are and see where they're not, and
We could have like an inventory of them.
yeah, exactly. And then we can also, come up with ideas for structures that we think that should have plaques. And we can let the city know for the properties the city owns and for condo complexes or buildings that were formerly either city or other uses, that they could apply for a plaque, and that we could educate those entities about the process of getting a plaque if they would like to get one, and it's not very expensive. And it's something that we would not fund, and let's explain that. And we'd explain that there's an application that we would have, and they don't have to fit every criteria. This is more of a questionnaire, and we would evaluate based on how they answer those questions as to how significant that would be to have a plaque based on either age, architectural style, or some historic activity.
I wonder if there's grant, portions of a grant or some kind of funding for like formerly city-owned buildings. Like the Maplewood School, like that's chalked up as condos, so like the association would have to do it, and then you deal with like residents that are like, I don't want to spend that money. I'm wondering if there's like something that we could do, like if there was some grant money that could be allocated for that, for like strictly for city-owned buildings that are now in private hands.
Yeah, I don't know
Kind of
how.
what I was saying about the Blackburn and the Legion.
Yeah, I don't know how if that really would be. I hate to use the word legal, but I mean, is it something that would be against the usual procedure of spending public money on private property, essentially? Because these now are private properties. If this
Yeah.
condo association is private property, and to use public money for anything that's private is a no-no. In all cases, as far as I know. So it would have to be something that somebody would have to fund it, but you can't look to the government to fund things for even though it was once public, if it's now private, then you can't spend it. You spend money. You can't spend money on private property. So that I can answer that one. So I think that it's not really a large expense for and it's something that the condo association would have to have a vote on. And if they don't want to do a plaque at this time, that's okay. Next time it comes around, maybe they have a change of heart, whether they want to do it or not, or maybe we may have new presidents. But my thought is those who want plaques and qualify should get plaques. Those who don't want plaques, but they could qualify, and that's what they want, they don't want to do it. I will have to say I would respect their decision not to do it. That's the way it is, unless somebody wants to come up with some money, the donation. That's not using public funds. If somebody wanted to donate money, and then even then, maybe somebody doesn't want to have a plaque on their property, but it's up to the people who own the property, and that would be a condo association if it's a condo, and that would be something they would have to they have to be able to vote on it, and the majority would rule under their bylaws, whatever they determine for voting. So That, I think that would, and I think most cases, they probably would want a plaque. If they knew about it.
Can I ask a tangential question?
Sure.
Back to the Form B. Does
Yes,
anyone know
yeah.
how to, does anyone know the particular criteria for doing a Form B? Like beyond filling out the information, like, is it just something you fill out and send to the Mass Historical Commission?
It's supposed to be fairly brief. When I say that, it's done on 1 or 2 pages.
Yeah,
And usually you have a photograph that represents the historical nature of it, particularly architecturally.
is there anything
And a
exclusionary?
description. You'd have a description. Maybe a section for description.
Is there like any
yeah.
exclusionary factor to it? Like, is there something that the state's gonna be like, no, this doesn't meet it? That we should like look at, or something that, we may have omitted? My only question is because if this gets underway and people start applying for plaques, we're gonna be sitting
Right.
on a pile
Right.
of application forms that could be easily turned into a Form B. Like, would taking this information and just plugging it into the Form B
Right.
expedite the process of getting more things on Macros? Because isn't that part of our responsibility, is to produce
Absolutely.
this record?
Correct. We've done this in the past. We've done surveys of neighborhoods and properties throughout the city. We've applied for grant money for that, and we've received that, and it's been done. So that is something that we should be thinking about.
Because in the past, we've
Continuing.
had to like hire someone, because didn't we have to like hire Wendy Frontero or something?
We did.
And she
And-
would do each of them, and it costs money. But if
It
we
does.
could do it, if people were doing their own properties
Yeah, we can do it. That's
and
right.
we vetted that, would that be acceptable
I believe it would.
to put it on the Form B?
We
We can kill two birds with one stone with this.
I agree. I think it's a great idea. It does 2 things. It determines how historic or architecturally significant the property is, and it also is getting the property onto Macros for the Form B. I think, and the one way you can really figure out how to figure these out is to study the forms that are already been filled out, and you get the idea of what you need to have. You'll see there's a description. You'll see there's something about the history, and the architectural style, something that makes it would qualify it for as a historic property, essentially. I did study this at Boston Architectural College when I went there at the Form B, and I probably filled out a few of them myself. But it's something that, if you don't do it every day. But it is pretty straightforward. The categories in the form, as you've noted, there's certain categories. It kind of takes you through it. There is a narrative, though, that you have a little section in there with a photo, the description, that is tied to the architectural style and the historic significance of the property, either by an event or by personality. And also, if it's part of a historic district or part of, let's say, I'll use the word development, but in other words, homes that are or structures of a similar style in a certain cluster, a certain neighborhood, So this will get us to really do a lot of thinking. I think this is a good thing. Go ahead. Is that Susan?
I just sent everybody the link to where all the forms are, and I attached the prototype of Form B.
You are fabulous. Yeah, you're awesome. seal the back here. Here
So
we are.
Jude,
Do
are
we-
you proposing that we just have everybody fill out a Form B and send it to us, and then we review it, and then based on if it is historically significant, that's when we would then submit it to the map to?
I mean, I was thinking more they fill out just to make our lives easier when
Yeah.
people want a plaque, just fill out this form,
Yeah,
which I basically just stole from the Form B. But if we're gonna fill out Form Bs, all it would be was to take what was on this,
yeah,
make sure the information's correct, put it on the Form B and send it to state, and then they get on Macris.
but we
Right.
would send it,
Yeah.
not them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we
After
have,
our
we have to send, we
review.
have to send it to
Yeah.
Mac. It has to come
Right.
from us.
Yeah,
And-
that's
and
what I was
private
trying to
Private
clarification,
party
yeah.
can fill out a Form B. I do think it is good, though, if someone's gonna put a plaque on a house, they go through this application process, which essentially be a Plan B. I mean, I should say a Form B, rather, that that we assist them in finalizing the Form B. So it's in a certain type of form. You have individuals doing this, it would tend to be maybe missing certain points that could make a Form B more effective. So,
Like we could look through it, because I put something on that says, is this on Macris? And if it's not on Macris, now we know, like, we don't have to waste our time with stuff that's already there.
right,
Except
yeah,
maybe like updating some photos, because some of those things are from the 70s.
right. Well, I think that could be interesting. I'm kind of wondering, they ever take a photo, and I'm trying to think of a Plan B, where it was the original building the way it was originally, and then what it is today. You know,
I also added a section on that for if someone goes to the museum and goes to those files and is like, oh, this is what the house used to look like. So I
Right.
put a section for historical photos, because most of the Form Bs are just like someone went and snapped a picture of the house in 1974.
Right.
And it's like some of them are handwritten, some of them are like typewritten on there. Some of them it's just a photo, like a scan of it with the paperclip photo to it.
Mhm.
I don't think they're like ridiculously strict in their criteria, like submission criteria, as long as the information fits. So if someone decided they wanted to go, I feel like someone that wants a plaque is going to make the effort to go to the museum and see if they can find an old photo of the house or whatever. There was something the thing I sent out a couple months ago noted that there is a binder, at least they can at least get their like a snapshot, like a, what do you call it, like a proof
Yep,
of what the photos are, and then the museum has like higher quality ones, but at least get like someone can just snap a picture of that and add it. You know, it's
Yeah.
good, because if there's a lot of alterations, they're like, oh, there was no alterations, but the photo looks very different.
mhm,
We have something that like we might want them to go back and look into.
right, yeah. It can shed a lot of light on how structures have changed through the years, you know. And we've seen this in, you know, photos of something that's old. And if you look at a photo as it is today, it's quite changed, you know, but you can still see there's some resemblance there. So, looks like we're on to something here with that Form B idea. I think it's a great idea.
Do we have to vote on this?
I think what we can vote on is we know what generally what the Form B is. And we could vote on whether we will try to model our historic plaque procedure application following a Form B, and with the intention that we would be preparing that property to eventually to be listed on Macris. That would be the motion that would that be the way you would like to see this motion worded, Jude?
Sure.
Okay, all right, so let me go on that, and we can
Because then at least at any rate, we have a formalized application. Like if this is the only thing we have is this and what Susan did for the procedures.
Right,
We at least have a starting point. So someone comes next month and decides they want
Right.
a plaque. We
Yeah.
can at least be like, hey,
Right.
here's this, do this, and we'll go from there.
right.
And
And we
then-
don't really have this necessary hard and fast, right, in hard copy quite yet. Sort of this, somewhat in flux, but the general idea is is that we're looking to model after the Form B, for two reasons. One is it sorts out some of the things that we're interested in terms of seeing if it qualifies, and the other is to produce a Form B at the same time. So that would be, we can vote on that because it's really, the idea here is that is what we're going to be working toward. But we don't necessarily say, well, we got this form already, but this is what we're going to be working toward. Then we will vote on the form once we get that new form, and it'll be modeled after the plan, the Form
It'll
B.
give us, someone can take it on like a little shakedown cruise and poke the holes in it that we
Right.
need to see.
Right, and Susan is our research specialist here. She gets, at a moment's notice, she will tell us where we can find something and produce something. So, what a resource. and having
Don't
her-
hold me to that, Bob.
Huh? What's that?
Don't hold me to that.
Yeah, so, yeah, so, what I was gonna say, between what Judah's doing and what you're doing, and you also know a little bit about what the requirements are for the macros or this Form B. So, and if you want any assistance, you can feel free to run that by me, and then we can kind of come up with a hard and fast application based on the Form B, and kind of, as you say, kill two birds with one stone here. Get a Form B on the property and determine the worthiness of whether it should get a plaque or not. All right, well, I think we made some progress. I'll make that motion that will model a application for getting a historic plaque based on a Form B, which would be a description and a questionnaire that's official, and that would be something that could be listed on Macris. I'll make that motion, and who would like to second that?
I'll second it.
I'll second.
Okay, and we'll make a roll call here. Ralph? Can't hear you.
Sorry, I was on mute. Yes, I agree.
Okay, I was just wondering if you're still here.
Yeah.
Okay, Jude?
Yeah.
Yeah, Lillian?
Yes.
Susan?
Yes,
Tim?
Yes.
And here's Bob. I say yes unanimously. We accepted that. That's great. Any new candidates for the award ceremony, and who is collecting the information of all these suggestions?
I put it on the minutes.
I saw,
Yeah.
yes,
so-
yeah. That's a good idea, and you can make a list of these if you would.
Yeah.
Now, the most recent one I had was 57 Adams Hill Road. It's at the very end of Adams Hill Road. It is actually a place where the public won't drive down to, but the property is very significant in that any work that was done either by the present owner or a previous owner was in the spirit of certainly historic preservation, just very nicely done, and
Yeah, it's a beautiful building.
yeah, the one have you seen it?
I'm looking at it online now.
Oh, good, yeah.
It's
It's
estimated at
Shingles.
8 million.
Shingle. It's what?
It's estimated at $8 million.
Right, yeah.
What-
It's-
what-
it's-
what's
it's
the
worth-
house?
it's worth it. It's worth it in every respect. It's a fabulous view. you can hear the kids over on Wingershee Beach shouting and splashing and so on. It's
You said
got an
57,
awesome view.
right?
Yeah.
Hmm?
57,
right?
at-
Yeah.
Yeah, 57. And they don't encourage people to drive down there because essentially you're driving down their driveway and you have to turn around their driveway right in front of their garage. But I suppose if you want to go down there, you let them know you want to come down and look at it. They'd be welcome you to do that. I did ask them if they would be interested. They said they would be interested as long as it didn't increase their taxes. What people need to know is getting a plaque on your house or being recognized for historic preservation will not increase your taxes. That's the assessors department, and that is not their criteria for assessing property.
You know, it could hurt
Hmm?
their market value, though.
What's that again?
I said it could help their market resale value, though, which is a bad deal.
It could, and that I suppose that could affect the value of not only that home but the homes in the neighborhood, because that's how they get the values of homes. Okay, any new candidates? Anyone have here? Okay, so I said 118 Washington Street, which is on the corner of Commonwealth Avenue, and then there was another one I think I had suggested. I think you might have listed it, Ralph.
yeah, I did. I'm drawing a blank, but yeah, it's also in Annisquam, the hotel.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I forget what the name
The
of it.
Brindney.
Ribmere. Now who, that, Susan, you're the one that brought that to our attention, right?
I haven't yet been in touch, but it's on my list. I haven't forgotten her.
Okay, that's awesome. Yeah, I did work there through the years. It's it gives you a feel of the old days. It's just interesting how they have been able to manage to keep that feel. We used to have a lot of old hotels here, and Susan, you have a pretty good idea of that because you're doing the presentation and done presentations in the past. You have one coming up in October, and I want to be there at the Gloucester
October.
Stage Company.
Yes,
Is it the
Yes.
16th? Is it-
19th.
19th, okay. I do have it in my calendar. I'll just check that to be sure. Let's see here. The 19th. Yeah, you're the only thing I have on that day, so I should be there. 6:30
Alright.
at the Gloucester Stage Company. Susan will be doing a presentation on hotels, which I think the history of hotels on Cape Ann, which I do remember some of those hotels when they were operating, like the Rockaway, are just so interesting. You know, I wish we still had them. We have a few hotels, but not like those days. Okay. We had talked about Andrews. Let's see, across from Andrews Street, there's a house on Washington Street that they were taking out the windows and replacing them. Yeah, you had noted this, Ralph?
Yeah, it's across from Dooley Street.
Right. And
Yeah.
you were somewhat dismayed by the fact that they were putting in these replacement windows.
No, it wasn't the windows so much. They removed the chimney and all the fireplaces to make more
Right.
in.
Right.
I mean, they're doing a nice job. I'm it's
I think we have to look at that overall. In
Yeah.
other words, are they saving something there? Well, they're making the property more useful for themselves. And what people usually do when they're moving chimneys is they're making inside space
right. That's
because the
exactly.
chimney's in the way. Say
Right.
they want rid of the chimney. Now, what some people have done is they put a support so they can keep the part that goes above the roof.
Yeah.
And so the chimney does not go right down to the ground as they usually do. But I can think about another property that's historic that they did that to. They did away with a chimney, and there may be more than one chimney, but they did away with one of the chimneys because of that thing. And there may be a day when homes don't have chimneys
Mhm.
because we're going away from fossil fuel.
Right.
I mean that people, not everybody has embraced it yet, but that's a trend. The trend is going away from fossil fuel, and the government is pushing it for good reason. Federal, state, and local. Some local communities are committing that a new structure is not to have fossil fuel, either gas, wood, or oil, or anything like that. It classifies as fossil fuel to heat it,
Mhm.
which would mean it has to be either solar, electric, which means they have to use it from the grid, which could be produced by fossil fuel, but it's different. There's a difference getting your fuel from an electric utility. Utilities are regulated on their whether they pollute. There's regulations on their emissions out of their. They produce the, and it's also very efficient. It's more efficient than probably most homes that maybe have a burner that's 75% efficient, and then the utility might have something that's over 90% efficient, something like that. So that's just a trend. That'll be new structures, which will become historic someday. But right now, most historic structures that we'll be looking at will have a chimney. They won't necessarily have an outhouse, though. That was another error. All right. So, no other candidates this month?
I had thought that Daventry Lane would be a good candidate, but I can't track down the developer. I can't find him in Beverly, but I'll keep trying.
Okay, which lane is that?
Daventry Lane, which is two two properties down from me.
Okay.
Between it's 3 duplexes. That
Oh,
were very nicely done. One of them
Oh.
takes the line of our house, our
Right.
roof line, the one in front, but did a really nice job and very, very well built, but they're,
some are out front and some are in back, right?
pardon?
Some are out front and some are out in back.
Right, there's one that's the closest to the street, and then on the left-hand side, it's, the next one steps back, and then way in back, there's the one that has four
Right.
bedrooms. They're like little house, they're like houses.
They are very attractive and very nice. Yeah. Yeah.
They did a really
Where
nice
was
job.
that?
That is right across from Niles Beach. There's a cluster of duplexes
Yes. Yep.
that are really, really nicely done. I wouldn't mind living there.
Yeah, that's what my husband and I said, boy, we should have the money like for when we wanna do more carefree. No maintenance
You have a
property.
beautiful home. The only thing is you're on your own. I mean, it's a large home. It's I assume it has a certain amount of maintenance you have to deal with being an old home.
Yeah, it's funny, it's not as large as it looks. I mean, well, we added on, but it was recently built. It was just four corner bedrooms,
Yeah.
or 4 corner rooms and 4 corner bedroom, and then the maids' quarters were on the 3rd floor, which had a
Right.
lot of the angles from the attic line.
Right.
And we had two chimneys, and I wish I had known about that other solution, because we could only really afford to rebuild one, because they needed to be built from the ground up for 3 stories. And it was
Wow.
expensive, so, and they had kind of a unique, well, that we saved the unique pattern that we had.
Mhm.
But I wish we'd been able to do 2.
Your house sounds like it could be eligible for an award.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah. Does that be something you could agree with?
Yeah, I guess, yep. I mean,
Yeah.
We pretty
It's very
much kept
significant
a
of
lot of,
style for that period.
it was never fancy on the inside or anything, and was just basic. We saved
Right.
whatever shelves that maybe were a
Right.
little ornate, but there
I
was
remember,
nothing.
is it a shingle style? Is it shingle style? Is that what you call
Single
it?
style, yep, 1892, yep,
Right, and you got the huge porch on it,
yep,
right?
wraparound
Yeah.
porch, yep.
Yeah, that's, you know, it's a unique style of that period, like around 1900, I'd say.
Well, it's 1880 to 1900 is that 20 years of the
Right.
shingle style, or 1892. And what defines a shingle style is that every side of the house is different. It's asymmetrical. There's nothing that's the same.
That would make it an interesting thing. I think that's very interesting. So you could actually do the write-up on this and you
I
do the
could.
presentation. I think
I've
that'd
done
be
all the
awesome.
research already.
Right, it
It
might
was
just well,
built by Captain Albert Lewis of Lewis Wharf in Boston.
oh, really?
Yeah,
Oh, my wife goes there for her dental work, and I've been known to go there too for my dental work, Lewis Wharf.
yeah, and he built another house further out on Eastern Point, totally different. It's like a gambrel house, totally different, 2 stories.
Yeah.
On the corner of Elm Ave and Toronto Ave, or Fort Hill Ave.
Right.
Doesn't look
Is
at
that
all
one we
like
could
this.
consider for an award? Had that been restored and so on?
No, unfortunately, it's kind of being let go a little bit, and that was built in 1890, so that's 2 years older than our house.
Oh, okay, yeah. That's
Speaking of research, I resent the list of places people can find stuff for their houses that we can attach to that form.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh,
It
that's
took me like 15 minutes to find it in my email because I forgot what I called it.
Yeah,
Right.
I resent it,
uh,
so it's on the top of the list.
great job. I have to say, I'm so thankful to have this commission. I think you're all terrific. You all have your special talents and you keep us in check. I think that's wonderful. Okay, I don't see anything else on this agenda. We'll talk about the next meeting. Should we have, this is actually our September meeting. Should we have one in October or what do you think? Are we gonna miss a meeting somehow or? are we
I
gonna
feel
be
like it's
upside-
gonna be
Oh,
it's
I'm
gonna
sorry.
fall around Halloween.
Oh, you're gonna dress up, are you?
Yeah, I'm gonna have trick or treaters
Let me see
now that
here.
now that there's kids in the neighborhood.
Look here, see, November, see,
I think it'll be the 30th.
oh, that would be the 30th. It's not Halloween though. What's your idea on that? Do you like that? Is that a problem for you?
With me.
Or would we like to do it, after, someone mentioned after election, you know,
Yeah, the
Alright.
election's what, November 8th,
it's actually set the 7th, you're close.
7th.
The 7th, yeah. And so the 6th is a Monday. That will be the first Monday. Now we'll be getting away from it being the last Monday of the month, which is not really the end of the world, because the last Monday could end up being New Year's.
Yeah, we used to do it the first Monday for a while, and then
Right. And the last Monday has been working for most people. Everyone seems to be okay with that. But would the first Monday work just as well?
Yeah.
it's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other with me.
Mhm. We could try it out and see. So if we do it the first Monday, that'll be the 6th of November. How do people feel about that one? Anyone have a problem with that date?
Works for me.
It works for me, but I'd like to kind of leave it open, see if it works, and if it doesn't work as we go along. maybe
That's a good point. Yeah, because I might, I'm on the CPC and sometimes they have extra meetings and they generally have them on Tuesdays, but they've been known to do some of them on Mondays lately. So that just.
Can we just leave it pending unless we have like pressing business? I know Ralph's gonna have something to come back with from the mayor's meeting.
Right. That's a good point.
And
That,
if we get a plat, I mean, if we do it the 30th and just do like pressing business like Ralph's meeting, and if someone comes up with a plaque or something like that.
Mhm. Yeah, we could do that. Yeah. If it-
I'm,
make the
I'm
meeting next
ambivalent,
week,
I'm ambivalent either way. It doesn't matter to me. I'm,
right, we can make the meeting very
all my
brief,
Mondays are the same, so.
because we've actually discussed a lot of the things that we have been putting off, mainly if somebody wasn't at a meeting or something like that. But I think we
I think
made it,
I think the two
Right.
big priorities are the plaque right now and what comes out of the Ralph's meeting with the mayor.
right, exactly. Yeah, I agree.
So I mean, we do the 30th and then we do the end of November. Well, the end of
Okay.
November, is that gonna be Thanksgiving? No, that'll be the week after. That'll be the Monday after Thanksgiving.
I don't think that's a problem. Let me see here. November would be the 27th. Thanksgiving will be the 23rd.
Okay.
The 20, in fact, Thanksgiving is as early as it can be. I think it's the 23rd is it's supposed to be the fourth Thursday of the month, which really could be, it could possibly be the 22nd, I think. Yes, it could be the 22nd and that won't happen next year because we have leap year next year. So it may be a while before that's going to happen. Yeah, so all right, so we can go keep the last, you want to keep the last?
Yeah, why don't we do the
Monday.
third? Why don't we do the 30th?
Yeah, because it's not going to be a long meeting. And that'll, carry us probably the next couple of meetings. They won't be as long as what we just went through now, because we'll probably handle one or two issues at a time now,
Yeah, I think the priority right now is the plaque and the ordinance. And the ordinance is a priority because if we get
Yes.
something done, we could actually like act on it in January.
I agree. That's right. And if we do focus on something like that, we might make more progress than if we try to have all the irons in the fire and we're spreading ourselves out too much, Okay, that's good focusing. I like that. All right, so then I'll just say that we'll have a meeting on the 30th of October, which will be 1, 2, 3, 4. It'll be 4 weeks from now, which is not too bad. And just give you a heads up, Ralph, that would be, I would need the schedule by the beginning to the middle of the week before that, which would be the plus or minus the 24th of October. Sometimes we've missed getting it in, partly because I don't notice that you've sent it, and partly because you're cutting it close. So if we don't cut it too close and I don't miss it, we'll be okay. All right. So the plan will be to have it on the 30th. And we have a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
And we'd like to second that.
Second.
Okay, Lillian, thank you. All right, we'll do a roll call. Ralph? I think you said yes. I saw your head. I didn't hear your voice though. All right, Jude?
Yes.
Okay, Lillian?
Yes.
Okay, and Susan?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
Good. And myself, Bob Whitmarsh, yes. Okay. Well, that ends the meeting at, let's see, what time is it? 8:20. And so we will see everyone on the 30th. Have a good month.
Great, you too,
Okay,
Bob.
then.
yep, everyone have a
Okay,
good
yeah.
one.
Bye, guys.
thank you so much. Yeah, bye-bye.